I'll do it. I'll declare it Open Championship week. Headed to Royal Troon for the first time since 2016, our final major of the year. Enjoy it. It's like 250 days in between major championships. I mean, Tommy's one thing, but what are we keeping our eye on, KP? I feel like sometimes there's a lot of different stories. Sometimes there's one that sucks up a lot of the oxygen. Where are we headed for Troon?
Okay, I'm just going to give you, I jotted down, this was like right after HQ, I jotted down 8 storylines that I'm about to write about once we're done with this podcast. And I want to see which one sticks out the most to you. Okay, I'll just read them real quick.
Okay.
And I don't even know if I'm going to keep all 8, but probably. The Open. So like the most, I don't think Scheffler is going to win, which means I have no idea who's going to win.
Oh, okay.
Rory's Psyche. Bryson's huge opportunity. Bryson has a chance to have like one of the great major seasons of all time if he wins.
Mm-hmm.
Scheffler needs one. What I mean by that is he's played just the level at which he's played would suggest like probably a 2 major season. So need is like relative there. Tommy, the best Open player of the last 5 years. What's the non-Bryson LIV presence? Like, is Brooks still playing majors? Is Rahm good right now? Like, I don't know what to make of all that. Under the radar, Morikawa, and then just Troon's history. Like, what does Troon produce? So what of those sticks out to you guys?
So I always lean towards the historic one. So the Bryson having a chance to do a historic major championship season, I think is interesting. I also think what does Troon produce? Because I do think that as far as rota courses go, Troon is somewhat unique with a couple of elements, which I like about it. So those were the first 2 that pop into my head. Greg, what did you take from those?
I would add the Scottie needs one. I think that's a fascinating discussion. And I understand that you said it's relative, but there's some truth to that. You don't get these seasons very often on the PGA Tour, and it seems like this is just what Scottie does, and it seems like it can go on forever. But history tells us that this kind of performance doesn't go on forever.
Yeah,
and so we're in a very similar situation to where we were last year with him, where he only had 2 wins, and it was an all-timer with his ball striking. This has been an all-timer all around, and it does feel like something would be missing with the 1 major season, which is a crazy thing to say. Yeah, he won the Masters. How is anything? He is dominating the FedEx Cup standings, right? Dominating the official world golf rankings. How could anything be missing? Yet, I don't think you're crazy to say that.
That's interesting. I don't know. I think if he missed the cut, I'd still look at this and be like, Scottie had an unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. I just, yeah, you want seasons like this to produce things on your historical resume that, like other seasons just can't produce. Like Spieth's season is not going to produce an Open win. Feel free to play that back if it does. But like Scottie, it's I guess what I'm saying is it's kind of weird that him and who else has 2 major wins, like almost like a Bryson or a Morikawa. Those guys are, I'm not like, those guys are amazing, but Scottie's been at a level like a Tiger level, and so you're like, wow, he only has 2 majors. It's not weird, but it's also like it would feel good for him to have produced more than just a 1 major season.
Okay, so that I get that, which makes me think of 2. I also do like what is the is Bryson the only LIV guy? Where is Cam Smith? Where is John Rahm? What is Brooks Koepka? I don't even know. Like, what's the trend line been for how many LIV guys have even been playing in the last 8 major championships? Right? Are we getting to a smaller amount? But the other thing is, as you were kind of going through that, I do always really like when guys go from like 2 majors to 3 or 3 to 4. is like a very
Oh, yeah.
huge thing. And when you've got so Colin's got 2, Bryson's got 2, Scottie's got 2. I don't know who else is kind of in that short.
Has 3.
JT.
Yeah. So like there's that because there's always multiple of those guys, and as you start cranking them up, you get on a shorter and shorter and shorter list. So and especially when you've got like Scottie who's doing it in a run, Colin who would be historically young, I imagine, Bryson who would be doing it in just a lot of different ways. There would be some very, very cool winners.
Yeah, totally. And then, like to contrast that with what we got last year, which is not an out of nowhere winner, but not somebody that any of us picked, in Brian Harmon. I think the one that sticks out to me, well, the 2, and they were the first 2 that I wrote. So just it being like, I don't even know who to pick, honestly. Like I truly don't. Usually I go into these things and I'm like, I think it's going to be one of these 3 guys. I'm usually wrong, but I at least have some inkling. I have no clue, guys. Like I truly do not. And then 2, I think Rory's Psyche. I think Rory's going to be in it. Like I think he'll be in the mix on a Saturday morning or maybe a Sunday afternoon. Like, how does he respond? How does he react to that? What does he feel? How uncomfortable does he get? I think that is fascinating. I mean, just coming off Pinehurst, the Scottish Open is like, okay, you worked out some things that you hadn't played for a month. Okay, you're back in the mix, back on the saddle, right? And I just don't like. I think like his psychological reaction to being in the mix at a major is super interesting going into this week.
The point of no return. You ever heard of this concept?
Yeah.
Where you get far enough along in some journey and it's not worth it to go back. Like
it's like Phil's career.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it would take just as much effort to quit as it would not to. If I'm Rory McIlroy and I'm in the mix like I expect him to be on Sunday, it's like there is at this point nothing to lose. Because what happened at Pinehurst is as devastating as it gets.
Yep.
I mean, you got to go to like John Van de Velde for a worse possible outcome.
And if he does the same exact thing, Greg, it's not like it's going to be twice as bad. It's still going to be just as crappy as it was when it happened at Pinehurst.
Right. So, if
I love this.
Talking to Rory about it, it's like, hey, this is like a free, it doesn't matter what's happened before, right? There are critics that are saying you're never going to win one because you just can't do it. Like, do you really think you just can't do it? That's a crazy thing.
So we've actually hit Rory rock bottom is what we're talking about.
Wait, who has? He has or we have?
Hopefully, I guess in Greg's scenario, hopefully he has, because that makes the way that I interpret Greg's thoughts here, and I agree with, is that like
it can't get worse.
It cannot get worse. So you might as well just freewheel this thing, and who cares? Like those.
Okay,
those feelings you felt, they're not going to be worse. So just who cares?
For sure. I think 2 things. I think one, we're often critical of him being too aggressive at majors, right? Where it's like, dude, why are you ripping at pins on like Thursday morning, And so I think from that sense, like you don't want to be, I feel very conflicted on this because from that sense, you don't want to go out and just be like insane with the way that you play the golf course. But on the other hand, I've talked myself into that the only way he's going to win another major is like the Kiowa plan, which is you're up by 8, like going to the bag 9, right? Because he has the talent to do it, and you take so much of the psychological stuff out of it that it to me it almost seems like the more straightforward path, even though it's incredibly difficult to do. But I don't know how to reconcile those 2 things, because you don't want to go out and try to shoot 60 on Thursday and end up shooting 73. But also, I think that is maybe the path for him to win another major championship.
Yeah, but I do think that Rory understands how to play these tournaments as 4-round events, right? He's shown us that over the last couple of years. I'm not saying like be conservative or be aggressive. I'm just saying you have nothing come Sunday
Right.
when you're in the mix, up by 8, down by 2, tied for the lead, whatever the situation is, you got nothing to lose. Like there should almost be at this point so much scar tissue. There's no scar tissue. It's not going to change.
Yes.
It either stays the same or you've conquered the hill.
It's a mindset. There is no feeling you will feel that is worse than what you have felt recently.
Right.
And there's so much scar tissue that any new, they can't even touch you. They don't even break through. It doesn't matter. You are in a bubble, sir.
You're either going to have done it before or feel better than you've ever felt in your entire life.
I might pick him. Greg might be talking me into him.
We'll see. Let's just wait until Tuesday.
I mean, who
I'm
like, yeah, exactly. Who would you guys pick today if I said you gotta give me a pick? Like I haven't thought about it a ton, but I just don't even know.
I would be between Rory and Scottie.
Okay.
I would be between God, why would I say Rory? But I feel like I'm gonna say Rory. So I would be between Rory and Colin.
Okay. I think
I'm not ready to give up on Colin.
I think that I wanted, like this time last week, I would have said Tommy. I didn't love the way he played this week. I think I might be between Rory and Ludwig.
Man, get those guys into a choke fest on Sunday.
That would be just if you give me Rory and Ludwig and the Phil Stenson deal.
Oh man.
I mean, might not be able to handle that.
I don't know. The guy who's been the best player in the world for 2 years is probably the right pick.
Well, and producer Josh just said, is there a reason why Scotty's not front of mind? I think he hasn't been good at opens. I mean, for him, right? He's finished, I think he has one top 10 or one top 15, something like that. But, I think I was talking to somebody about maybe Andy Lack. I was talking to the other day about what frustrated him at Pinehurst can also be true at opens, which is this sort of random nature of like where your drive ends up, just some different things like that. It's not as controllable as it is at a Muirfield Village or a Colonial or somewhere like that. So I think that's an interesting thing to watch with Scottie is a little bit of the randomness that happens at Open Championships.
Yeah, he did not like that. And you should, if you're the best player in the world, you should not like luck because you're better.
But I do think there's a difference with Pinehurst specifically. And that's just the greens. Like the bouncing in the fairway, I could see that frustrating. The bounces you get in the fairway, maybe even into the greens, if it's really firm and fast, could be frustrating. But I don't think you're going to see Scottie Scheffler have no clue reading the greens the way he did at Pinehurst and admit it, which I think that plays into his favor pretty significantly at this point on Sunday afternoon.